Dystopia warning, obviously. Welcome back to General Election Watch 2024. We're now in the final countdown, aren't we? This is our last full week of Tory. T-minus 9 days until they're metaphorically gone. In other news, bit hot out, isn't it? I'd normally make a little joke. You know, I'd say something like, oh, I'm sweating like a Tory at an under-18s disco. Ruined that, haven't they? This is why I've started talking about things that I wish would happen, you know, like kicking them off piers or firing them directly into the eye of the sun. Because if you don't have a dream, then how can your dream come true? I'm going to talk a little bit about the betting scandal today. So far, 3 Tories have been implicated, 3 people who really prove the point that politics is showbiz for ugly people. In the middle there, we have Craig Williams, a badly sketched drawing of a Tory, an aide to Sunak and a candidate. Here we have Nick Mason, the Tories' chief data officer, and on the end there, Laura Saunders, another Tory candidate, and she's also married to Tony Lee, the Conservative Party's director of campaigning. It's nice to finally have a face to put to the name, isn't it, of the person that apparently hates Sunak more than anyone else in the country. The person that's been responsible for this car crash of an election campaign. Yeah, he's gone on a leave of absence halfway through, which doesn't look dodgy, does it? This has all been trundling on for like over 2 weeks now. So far, the only person that's been arrested is one of Sunak's protection officers, a police officer, on suspicion of misconduct in a public office, yet none of the Tories that I've just mentioned have. No. Now, this article by the Tory Graph is exceptionally interesting because what they're trying to do now is they're trying to shift attention away from the Conservatives that have been involved. Now, 5 other officers are said to be under investigation by the Gambling Commission, but the Telegraph are having the cheek, despite more names said to come out from the Conservative Party, possibly including ministers, they're having the cheek to say, right, that the Met is leaking this information to the press. And they're trying to claim that the Met are essentially trying to interfere with the election. What? Do I have to remind you of police inaction from the Met regarding Partygate? Do I? Now today, finally, Rishi Sunak has stopped hiding behind the skirt of the Gambling Commission and taken action against them two on the end by removing Conservative support for them in the upcoming election, but their names will still be on the ballot because it's too late to change them. Here's a snippet of what Craig Williams had to say about it.
I just want a quick message to the constituents of Montgomeryshire and Glyndŵr. I remain on the ballot paper on the 4th of July, and I hope to secure your support after years of delivery. I committed an error of judgment, not an offence.
Knowingly placing a bet isn't an error of judgment, it's a willful decision. And I kind of think it's up to the police whether or not that's a crime, mate. Even senior Tories are calling out Sunak for failing to act for the past 2 weeks. Probably those who fancy themselves for a leadership position after the election. Hardly makes you a beacon of morality, does it, to point out something that's objectively wrong? Having the most basic fragment of common sense isn't something to be praised for. Yeah, even if you are a part of that motley crew of weirdos and misfits that remain in the Conservative Party as it stands, for now. You see, there's likely to be many more people named. This is a chart of the bets, big bets that were placed before the election announcement. The Gambling Commission are even looking into people who might have placed a bet on behalf of people linked to the government. It's clearly insider trading at this scale. Something that a lot of Tories will probably be familiar with, you know, from their time working in the city. But the problem is, whether it's the VIP PPE lanes, Partygate, promoting predators, I could go on. They don't just think they're above us, they think they're above the law. And unfortunately, due to the Met's inaction over rampant criminality in the Conservative government, they're probably right. Rich, powerful people don't get arrested, do they? People like The Spectator are referring to this as carelessness. Do they mean carelessness at getting caught? Trying to make a meagre amount of personal profit? Is that what it is? I mean, they use all manner of words, don't they? You know, like sleaze, cronyism. What it is corruption. And it's not just one act of corruption either, it's a litany. The other night, my friends and I, in our campaign and our political chat, tried to list all of the Conservative scandals. We were there for hours. You see, when the last Labour government left office in 2010, It had a long list of achievements and ways that it made the country better. This current Conservative government has a list way longer than that. But it's not of achievements, it's of scandals. And here they are, right to the bitter end, doing dodgy deals, abusing their position, and then wondering why the public are disgusted with them because they're that fucking entitled. The fact that this is small stakes, that they'd have probably earned, about 500 quid or more, makes it all the more grubby. I'd say the wheels have fallen off of this campaign, but they were slashed from the onset, not least by Sunak, who surprised his own party with a snap election. Nobody wants to fight for them. Safe Tory seats aren't looking that safe anymore, including Sunak's seat. And the only thing that might prevent them from all-out annihilation is Farage starting to show his true colours by confirming who he really works for, by essentially repeating Kremlin lies. Safe to say the Tories don't have a leg to stand on this as well. You know, they've failed to release the full unredacted Russia report, and they've taken extraordinary amounts of donations from Russian oligarchs. Anyway, I digress. Farage. As Carol Cadwallader pointed out long ago, Trump and Brexit were not two different things. They're the same companies, same data, same Facebook, same Russians, same Cambridge Analytica, same Breitbart, same Donald Trump, same Nigel Farage. But the problem is when standards in public life are completely eroded, when lying to the public becomes normalised and corrupt people are promoted to high office, voters become disillusioned, apathetic. And unfortunately, the people that end up being completely engaged are those that are conned the most. By private schoolboys selling magic beans, by salesmen with vested interests. Vested interests that are often not domestic, because patriotism, Right-wing populism isn't going anywhere. There's a fertile market for it now, thanks to people like Johnson and now Sunak. There are people out there treating political parties like football teams, albeit these football teams are just comprised of really posh, really rich, coked up, ugly men.
I used to be an ardent Remainer. I voted Remain. I believed in the European project. Mm-hmm. I believed that staying in the European Union was the best thing for us. And then something happened, and something monumental happened. It completely changed my opinion on the whole situation.
What was that monumental thing, Mark?
I was kicked in the head by a horse.
Right, very good. Okay.
Labour's going to introduce an Ethics and Integrity Commission. But if we want to restore public faith in politics, Starmer's going to have to be just as ruthless about getting rid of people that might mess up in his own party as he is about winning this election. The sanity and the democracy of our country relies on that, and that's not being dramatic, because returning normality, boring politics, functional politics, means there's no market for twats like that. Now, this has been really grim and really grubby, but just like me, you're probably not surprised anymore, are you? It's far from their worst scandal, but even I didn't think they'd have an ongoing scandal during their election campaign. If you put it into perspective with the lack of arrests for the VIP lanes, Partygate, the normalisation of hedge funders shorting the pound, especially right after the Brexit referendum, or Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng meeting with hedge funders that short the pound just before they tanked our economy. This is small fry, but it's also an indication of just how desperate they are. Right until the end, abusing their positions. Can't accuse them of not being consistent, can you? The only bit of joy that I've got from this entire scandal is watching Tory MPs sent out to try and defend it. If you like watching Tories suffer, you'll love this clip from Chris Heaton-Harris when he tried to justify Rishi Sunak's position on LBC. When even Nick Ferrari's sick of your bullshit, you know your time's up.
One candidate, Craig Williams, has admitted he did it and he's made a mistake. Why is he still standing?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's both a principal point and a there. Firstly, I believe the quote was a few weeks of the date.
Yeah. So why is he still in the party?
Not quite until they get exactly this. Not the answer is not quite, and they are independent of us. So
even though the man himself admits it,
no. So he said, but and they have said they're not.
What the hell was that? It was like he was vomiting ers. Like, Jesus. No wonder we're in such a state. That was a minister. Yeah, the minister for being a useless tosser. Another thing that I have to make really clear regarding Labour is that it's not a foregone conclusion that they're going to win the election. No. It requires people turning up and actually voting for them and voting tactically. So please, For the love of make sure you do. And before I go today, I would like to leave you with one of the funniest things that I've watched in a while. And it relates to little tiny Tommy Robinson, doesn't it? I have to say that watching Tommy Robinson being arrested for being an illegal immigrant wasn't on my satire is dead bingo card. But here you go.
Got one apple. Got an outstanding immigration warrant. We'll talk about it in the vehicle. Got one outstanding warrant? Yep, outstanding immigration warrant.
I have to say at this point, I think that Tommy Robinson has a kink for being restrained by men in uniform. No judgment, who doesn't? There's easier ways around it, Tommy. Someone needs to tell that guy about Torture Garden. Oh, and while we're on the topic of silly little fascists, Reform are standing Terry Tibbs in Chingford, apparently. White hoods, wooden ladders, burning crosses, talk to me. 4,000. Holy shit. Anyway, for now, T-9 days. Vote tactically. The Tories.